I want to talk about tree pose. So the first thing that I want to mention here is that sometimes you're going to be told to connect to all four corners of the foot or to all three corners of the foot. And what that is referring to is two corners at the front of the foot here, the ball of the big toe, baby toe. And then if it's four corners, it would be either side of the heel. And if it's three corners, the heel would just be considered as one. And what that means is to distribute your weight evenly in the foot without leaning forward or back, side to side. One thing you can do with your toes when we're connecting to all four corners or all three corners of the foot is to use them as little grips and just to help you balance a little bit more if you feel your weight shifting from one way to another, front or back. Use your toes to kind of even you out. And that goes for all standing single leg balances, not just tree pose. So going into tree pose, we often refer to three different foot positions. The first one would be keeping your toes down on the mat and placing the sole of the foot against the inside of the opposite leg. So using our right leg as an example here, we want to open up through the hip. Your foot would be placed down on the mat, and this is a good starting position. Second position would be to raise the foot above the ankle, but keeping it below the knee. It's very important that we don't press against the knee joint with the opposite foot. Our third position is going to be to pick up that foot and place it above the knee to the inner thigh. Just here, and again, making sure that we're not pressing against the knee joint. We want to stay off the knee. So whichever of these three positions that you choose, they're all great, and it's going to depend on how you're feeling that day. If you're more advanced, you might be even advancing into a half lotus position for tree pose, which would be to bring the top of your foot to the hip fold up here. Now, when you consider these three positions, I want you to keep in mind that there's a line drawn up the center of the body, so the midline of the body. And the foot is to be pressing against that midline. And in turn, we want that opposite leg to meet it there. So wherever our foot is positioned, and again, like I said, this can be different from day to day. Maybe you're always in the same position and you're always feeling on point, your balance is great. Maybe one day you're feeling really great, you got your foot up high, or you're holding really, really strongly, and then the next day you need a little bit more help. Lots of variables can come into play here that will affect your balance, such as how much sleep you had the night before, how hydrated you are. Lots of different things can affect this. So it's really important to just accept where you are today and listen to your body. So going back to that midline. So we're going to position our foot against the inside of the leg. Leg is going to press back into the foot. So right away when you do that, you notice everything in the legs tensing up. And that's perfect. So we're connecting underneath the foot. We're not leaning front, back, side, side. Nice connection across all four corners of the foot. Finding that midline. Now, my hips are even with each other. So I'm not dipping one way or the other. They're even with each other. Right hip is open. My navel is going to be drawn in and up, so I'm tightening up through the core and I'm squeezing that grounded leg, lifting through the chest. So you'll notice that through the front of the body, everything seems to be coming up. Everything seems to be opening up this way. Even the kneecap of the grounded leg should be drawn up. And then when we get to our chest, we want that chest to be up and open. Good. Long through the neck. Chin parallel to the mat, and we want our gaze to be maintaining an eye level position. Now, this is something that can change. This is up to you, and you have to use your best judgment here. When we're holding a single leg balance, the best thing to do is to find a focal point that's not moving. So if you're in a class full of people, you don't really want to look at another person, because if they start to lose their balance and move, then you're in turn going to start to lose your balance as well. So we want to find something that's not moving and make that our focal point. Draw our drishti there. Okay, so top of the head, we feel like there's a string pulling us up. Okay, so we straighten up that grounded leg, navel drawn in and up, chest is lifted, and if we want to, we can bring our hands together in Anjali Mudra. Thumbs can rest against the sternum, which is a good reminder to lift the chest. Good. Now, so the front of the body, we're lifting up, we're drawing everything into center towards that midline. And then the back of the body, we're going to draw down. So those shoulder blades are going to come down and back. Again, chest is open. That's naturally going to happen. Shoulders are down and away from the ears. Tailbone is tucked under. And we're grounding down through the back of the body. Good. So once we're here, everything is tightening up. Seems to be a lot going on. Find your balance here, and we deepen our breath. As soon as you get to a position that you want to hold, focus on deepening your breath. From here, we can raise our arms up overhead and open up the chest even more. And when we do this, we don't want to bring the shoulders up towards the ears. We want to keep them down. Movement through the shoulder girdle. That navel is still tucked in and up, and we're getting long through the spine. We're getting tall. Good. And then another option here, if our mobility allows, we can bring the hands together above the head, bend the elbows slightly, making sure the palms are touching each other, fingertips are kissing. Good. And we slow down our breath. Excellent. Something else that we can do in tree pose, if you want to get a little bit more playful with it, is to be a windy tree. So that means to bring your arms up overhead, and we wave a little bit from side to side, challenging our balance. Good, and you can even move your gaze around here if you want to challenge yourself even more. Excellent. Good. Finally, releasing the pose. So when we release a pose, we don't want to just fall out of it. We want to make sure that we're releasing with control, whether we are just practicing single poses or we're transitioning to another pose in a flow or as part of a sequence. We want to make sure that our dismount is as controlled as possible. So regardless of where you are, if your toes are down on the mat, we simply lay the foot down or move to our next position. From here, again, you don't want to fall. You want to be as controlled as possible, landing the foot lightly without putting any pressure into the joints. And if we're up here, you'll notice how I used my hand to help get my foot to the inner thigh, which is great, that's fine. You have two options. You can use your hand once again to help you release, again with control. That leg is heavy, keep that in mind. We're going to pick it up, tense up that leg. We're going to hold it up and release with control. Or, if you can slide the foot off the leg, as much control as possible, to dismount. One more thing that I want to mention that is going to affect your foot placement and how well you find that you're able to hold this pose. And it seems obvious, but it's something that we don't think of. What kind of pants are you wearing? What kind of material are they made of? Some yoga pants or some athletic pants are a little bit slicker than others, and your foot will have a tendency to slide off of them. So that's something that can really affect how you're holding. This is a little bit easier to hold without assistance than pulling that leg up here. So if you find you're bringing it up here, and you should be able to do it, but your foot keeps sliding off, maybe it's the material of the pants that you're wearing. Maybe those pants are better for a different kind of practice. Or, did you moisturize your feet recently? It seems really, really silly, but when you take really, really good care of your feet, let's say you just had a pedicure, let's say you're just moisturizing, you're scraping that dead skin off, you're really scrubbing those feet, and they look and they feel great, but they're doing this. Well, maybe that rough skin was helping you before grip into those pants, and that's fine. But moisturizing the feet could be one of the reasons why your foot isn't staying there. So I just want you to keep in mind that there are lots of variables that will affect how you're holding a position. And then obviously, skin on skin is a really grippy, great way to hold. But again, keep that in mind when you are practicing. If you're having difficulties, think of all the different reasons why maybe you're not holding it the way that you want to, or consider different environmental factors, like I mentioned, sleep, hydration, that could be affecting your balance that day.